Well, being the eye of the storm means that instead of, like, just echoing what everybody else has said, instead of being defensive, I love one of the things that I've learned through this book and this class is that I can say, isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. I love that. And learning to ask questions instead of making a statement. And I think that really helps me remain the eye of the storm. So let's start with an opening prayer. Divine Spirit, we're so grateful to come together to finish this project that we started, and knowing that we are the I. We are part of the one that is always at the center of whatever is happening in our lives. We are it. And we are it, and at the same time, in this human form, we are the hands and feet of that divine presence. We are the physical manifestation of the thoughts of divine mind. And we are here to live that purpose of being that physical manifestation of divine mind. And I'm so grateful that we're learning to keep that in our hearts and minds and in our actions. Let it move through us and work through us so that all things are working together for our highest good. We know that everything that we do here today will take with us into the world, and it will make our world a better world for us and everyone whose lives we touch. And we are so grateful. Amen.
Amen.
May I close?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to do it.
And again, the 5 basic unity principles, if we remember those, God is, I am, I think, I pray, I live. Those just on one hand, we can remember those things. What happened to my picture? Oh well. Anyway, the 4 winds of conflict are separation, misperception, competition, and defensiveness. And our tools to overcome these 4 winds of conflict are the attributes of wholeness. And the first, to overcome separation, our tool is communion, which is we relate to the intention to create communion, and we close the distance between those in which we are in conflict with whom we are in conflict. So, or the people that are in conflict, or the conflict that's in the situation. So we relate to communion to overcome separation, of coming together. The second principle of wholeness is principle, or the second attribute of wholeness is principle. And principle in this context is God by whatever name we give it, the nature of the universe, the allness of the universe. And by bringing principle, by bringing God into the situation, it allows us access to a field of infinite possibilities for good. When we decide in advance that we know the right answer, then we are closing the door to all of those other infinite possibilities. The third attribute of wholeness is purpose, which is what we talked about today. And purpose overcomes that wind of conflict that comes from competition. And through purpose, we become the avenue through which the situation is divinely blessed. And what are we doing when we're living on purpose? We're living as the hands and feet of God. And the fourth attribute of wholeness is non-resistance. We all know the phrase, what we resist persists. So from our center, we become the connecting link between our own divinity, of that God that lives in, through, and as us, and the circumstances. So we're going to go into a little more detail about purpose, which I did this morning to a certain extent. So we will be talking about living on purpose, and purpose is, Darrell, what is purpose?
Living on purpose.
Purpose is the universe intentions to be through each one of us, divine present on this plane of existence.
Yep. Hands and feet of God. However you want to phrase it. You know, I like to use phrases that, I don't like to use the word God a lot because there's so many connotations that are stuck to that word.
Amen.
That, you know, sometimes when we say that, people automatically think of the big guy up in the chair with the white hair and the, you know,
He's on a
clouds
cloud.
all around
No
him.
chairs.
Huh?
No chairs, he's on a cloud.
Well, but the chair's up in the
And
clouds.
judging you.
Crown,
Yeah,
beard.
yeah, exactly.
Right, white.
And it's always a
As
white
much
man.
detail as you want.
Right.
We can change it to love, be the hands and feet of love.
Yeah, that's true too,
Yeah, it's principle.
because that's right. So, Dave, would you read that, please?
Living on purpose. Every challenge, every difficulty, every temptation is an opportunity to shift our attention and awareness to the question, what is my purpose in this situation?
And I thought that was such a good, and so good that I already forgot it, but, you know, none of this stuff is going to sink into us overnight. I mean, some of it might, and that's why these slides are always available. I mean, this whole thing is always available online. It'll be, you know, it'll be up on YouTube, and it'll be up on, I don't know if Connie puts the classes on the Unity East website or not, but I know they're on our Unity East Unity East YouTube page. So,
She sends them out to people that are on the emails.
okay. So, every challenge, every difficulty, again, like I said this morning, to me, I've been really working on saying this isn't a challenge or a difficulty, this is an opportunity for me. And that, by looking at it as an opportunity, we shift our awareness, Darrell. We shift it. And when we ask ourselves questions, the human mind reacts totally differently to a question than it does a statement. So when we ask ourselves the question, what is my purpose in this situation, then a lot of this stuff, and it doesn't have to be the detail. It's the message, the meaning, what we have taken in from learning about conflict that we can bring to any situation we're in when we ask, what is my purpose in this situation? Maybe just saying that, maybe the word purpose now for me is going to be my reminder that I'm the hands and feet of God. Carol.
I love that this is underlined because it keeps us in the present. It's not anything back here, it's not anything right here.
Amen.
And if we breathe and just be still, it will help us figure that out, you know what I mean?
Right.
And if we don't get the answer right away, it's okay. We can just say, I'm doing this for me, guys.
Oh,
You know, just be quiet. You know what I mean? We don't have to always fix it, figure it out, you know what I mean, at that moment.
yes, absolutely, 100%.
I need to hear myself.
That's why another little phrase that comes to my mind. I have all these little phrases that pop in. Be still and know.
That's one of my favorites.
Isn't it?
Still and know.
Yeah.
You see it in many places. you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be still and just.
Yep. And that gives me reassurance that even if can't figure it out right now, even if I don't know what's going to happen, I can be still and know that, you know, God's got this, or all things are working together for my highest good, whatever.
God is in control, and I'm just gonna
Ex-
be okay with everything.
yeah, exactly. I love this. We are on the same journey as Jesus. Jesus wasn't the end all be all, the only person that could do all this stuff. He's our role model. He's our elder brother. These things that, Jesus' words, these things that I do, you shall do also, and greater things. He's not trying, he never meant to make himself into a God. And so many, I listen to Christian radio, although one station I had to delete from my, it's just, he's our way shower. He is the one phrase that comes from the traditional Christian background is, what would Jesus do?
Mhm.
And I love that phrase. Because I can ask myself, what would Jesus do? Because he is my way shower. And he did it right. He knew that I and the Father are one. We and the Father are one, just the same. But we don't know it like he knew it. And that's what we're working on. There it is. From the Gospel of John, the 14th chapter, the 12th verse. Linda.
Take ownership. Very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these.
Yep.
I like the yellow gold. It's easier to see than the white.
Good. Well,
And
I
then,
didn't do it too much. I mean, it looks totally different on here than it looks
Does
on
it?
here. So this actually looks like it might have been more difficult to read. So anyway, all things work together for our highest good as we practice living on purpose. We will see even somebody's ill will has a way of transforming into a blessing. Have anybody experienced that? Can you share?
Well, I can't put in a specific example,
Okay.
but I do know, I've
Yeah.
experienced it many times actually.
Yeah. I mean, if you think
got-
of something,
You gotta be open to it.
yeah, yeah.
And how you perceive things.
I mean, there's another Bible verse, I can't quite think of it, but there's another Bible verse about, they might have meant it for ill, but the divine meant it for good.
There, but for the grace of God, I could be having a day like that, when I can think of it, pray because for that, whatever that person's going through, like in the store or whatever, you know what I mean? Because
Oh, yeah.
bless them. I need to do that more in traffic.
Oh, I know, traffic
Well,
is.
I think too that, that if you're patient, because everybody has their troubles, and sometimes, when you're in the midst of a trouble, you're thinking, oh, I'm not gonna make it out of this trouble, but then God sends you people, and and you're supposed to kind of wait it out, and you're supposed to find, like it says, the good in it.
Very true, Kim, very good. We are all, Darrell, you nailed it. We are in the process of awakening.
Oh yeah, I'm woke.
Yeah,
I don't know how much I'm woke, but I'm woke.
yeah. But we're awakening to the divine idea of ourselves, of who we really are. When we start really realizing we are those hands and feet, and we start really living our lives like that, we're going to see some miraculous things happen. This one is not easy to see at all. I can see it on my screen, but our wholeness and worth is grounded solely in the expression of divine presence through us. Let me see. Why do I have page 118 on here? Let me see. There must have been something I wanted to refer to on this slide.
Was that supposed to be part of notes and?
Chapter
I don't
8,
know.
pages 118.
As you practice living on purpose, I don't know. Maybe that's a boo-boo. Maybe that's not supposed to be there. Okay.
Copy and paste,
Yeah.
Get you every time.
Yeah, exactly. And I do that a lot. Okay, we are either the way of God, or we're in the way of God. And I just thought, oh yeah, and there have been times. So if we're judging, if we're blaming, if we're fearful, if we're dishonest, and if we're unwilling or unforgiving, if we're doubting, stubborn, oh gosh. If we're unkind or just plain negative, we are very likely in the way of that divine presence and power, trying, but we put barriers up to the good that is trying to make its way to us. So those are the things we have to let go of. When we say let go and let God, we don't do it because we think that there's a power out there that is so much greater than any other power. We let go and let God so that we get ourselves out of the way and allow that power that's in us to work through us to make things happen. Because, it's like, say your prayers and move your feet. It's not about just, being a monk and going up to the mountains and praying all day. I mean, it might feel real good.
But that's not reality.
Yeah, that's
I
not
mean,
the...
we don't live there.
We can't
So
say
maybe if we did, we could be, but we don't live there.
Yeah.
when we get hungry and stuff, you know what I'm saying?
We used to live in the mountains, like we were in by the mountains. We go live in them.
Okay. Mike, can you read this for us?
Here's the hardest part. Imagine someone who has hurt you or treated you unfairly. Now see this person as you would the young child. What's the difference?
Oh, that was it must have been a story about a young child that I was trying to find. Okay, let me see if I can find it.
Page 118.
It said 118, and I looked at 118, I didn't see it. Okay, maybe this is it. This is what it means to live from your wholeness. You may think that in order for you to be whole or feel good about yourself, you need to recover from an illness or an addiction, get over a failed relationship, lose 30 pounds, quit smoking, finish therapy, or be forgiven by your children.
Okay.
None of that has to do with your wholeness and worth. Thank God. Your wholeness and worth are grounded solely in the expression of God's presence through you. And how that looks at any given moment is best described as being the way, the truth, and the life of God.
And if you see somebody wherever that's having whatever happening, you can try to picture them as little.
Mm-hmm.
And that would help the love come through. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Picture them as an innocent child, which they are really anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
Their
because,
inner
I mean,
child.
if it, and I guess because that would say, well, I use they're doing the best they can.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if they knew better, they'd do better. So, I think you're right,
Yeah,
I agree
well,
with
I've
you,
taught little
Karen.
ones that will help. That would be helpful for me.
Yes, so if we just say,
Yeah.
think of them as that little 3-year-old or 5-year-old.
Well, because I have, my twins, and, my grandson's starting, he can get a little mouthy at times,
Mhm.
But I always remind myself, see, he's just being a kid, because he's at a kid's level.
Right, so you can be more patient with
Yeah.
him
Right.
when you
But,
realize that
to do
he's a
that with an
child.
adult,
Right,
Well, we are all children, we're just at
That's right.
different levels and different stages,
yep.
and going through different things.
Well,
Right.
and so many of us, even though we're in these,
Big bugs.
they're in these adult bodies, but dang, a lot of times I see some very childish behavior, or I catch myself being, pouting or whatever whatever I do. But I do, and so even though, and we are told we must become as little children. So we need to be open to learn new things, like little kids do.
And they probably weren't safe being themselves, like the LGBT, they think,
Yes.
right? I mean, they never, don't even know that they were, you know what I mean? Because
Right, because racism and different things are taught.
Right,
They're
right,
not
right.
born into us.
Right.
Yeah.
Of
Have you guys ever
inheritance.
seen that,
Never
that,
felt
that
safe.
video on YouTube or where, or on, one of the social media platforms where these two little boys, they're probably 2 or 3 years old. One happens to be a black boy and one happens to be a white boy, and they're on opposite ends of the sidewalk, and their parents bring them up and they see one another and it's like, wow, and they start running toward each other,
like buddies
and they can
standing.
hardly wait to get each other, and then they hug and hug and hug and hug. I love that video. I love that video because it's just a child's need for love invites us to open our hearts completely, unconditionally, so the fullness of God's love can be shared. And that is getting to that childlike nature that still lives in each one of us. And that's what we want to give. We want to give like we would hug a grandchild, like we would hug a beloved, how gently would you hold a new, how, it's just that.
Well, and like you even said in your service, that's one thing about our church is, somebody who was a Hindu or a Buddhist,
Right.
anybody that walked into this church is accepted.
Right.
Because we don't believe in saying, no, you're wrong.
Right. Right. And all those paths, it doesn't matter whether it's a Christian path or a Muslim path or a Buddhist path or all those paths lead to the same place. I mean, they don't happen to believe it's the same path but they're going to the top of the same mountain.
And what did Jesus learn? He learned about all of those other religions that came before.
Right.
He's,
Yeah, because
I
it said
firmly
that he
believe
went to
studied
other
those.
places in the Bible.
Right.
It says he
Yep.
did travel to
I
other places.
firmly believe he did, and
Yeah.
he learned that. And also, people back then traveled from other countries that they were trading, and they brought that knowledge and that wisdom with them. One of my big aha moments is when I learned that if a child or an adult is being, we can call it mischievous, or I can sometimes call it ignorant or whatever, that, and I hear people saying, well, the child is just looking for attention. My aha moment was when someone said, no, they're looking for connection. And if you think of children who get into gangs and that, what are they looking for?
They're looking for love.
And
they've been given it
connection.
to
They're
them.
looking
Yeah.
for that connection, and that is why many people walk into a church, a spiritual center. They're looking for connection. If they can find it, they come back.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're looking for in each other.
Right.
Exactly.
You look at each other and you're looking for connection with people.
And you look
And love
at
and connection can be synonymous.
Yes.
Love and connection, to me they're
Exactly.
the same thing.
Yes. Yes. Cool. You guys are great. We are the way of love. Oh, the question we should be asking ourselves,
Yeah.
are we the way of love, or are we in the way of love? That goes right back to the thing that we just said earlier. We are either the way of God or in the way of God.
Change it to
And
love.
you could just replace the word God for the word love, because God is love. And that's what we need to ask ourselves. In this moment, in this situation, when I'm standing in front of someone and I'm angry, or they're angry at me, or we're disagreeing about something, am I acting, am I living the way of love, or am I in the way of love? What am I bringing to the situation? Because it's about the I, of whatever the storm is. We are the way of God when we love unconditionally and accept people as they are. And that is not always easy to do. That's what we're working toward. And sometimes we might realize that we are in the way. And if our awareness, if we are aware that we are standing in the way, then we can get ourselves out of the way. And for me, I'm not sure I can say that I love this person that has been hurting me or hurting someone I care about. I'm probably, I'm human. And I probably am not going to be able to say I love this person. However, I can say I accept that this person is doing the best that they can. And if they knew better, they do better.
Because it holds the same for us. It holds the same, you know what I mean? There's a story in Pema about a man whose girlfriend's trying to give up smoking, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to Pema and he goes, I love her and I just want the best for her, but it's so hard. I'm really, it's just so hard. I'm doing the best I can, but I'm really having a hard time with this, right? So, I'm getting this backwards. Anyway, so the lady, I know what it was, shoot. Anyway, toward the end, he hears himself say the same words he said about her. I'm really trying, but it's so hard, you know what I mean? And once he heard him say the same things he was saying about her, he goes, he got it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're all connected in it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
We all have our momentos.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're saying is what he was saying about her was
It's
a mirror.
yeah. Yeah.
Because whatever situation we're in, when we're upset, we're looking in a mirror. There's something in this situation that is in us that we need to deal with. And like I said, sometimes we really need to dig deep because stuff is in there that we're like, I didn't know that was still hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, that's why the going through all these classes that I've gone through for the last 3.5 years are just, there's been some times when I was in tears because I discovered something that I thought I dealt with a long time ago. And it was still lurking.
Well, that's
Layers
with
of the-
my issues with my husband right now.
Yeah.
It's very trying because he is telling my daughter, one set of things that isn't true, and then I'm trying to okay, I'm not gonna get into it with her because when I try to, she says I don't want to be in the middle.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but he's lying to you.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
so I just gotta ride it out for a
That's
little
right.
bit.
And that sometimes it takes a while too.
The truth comes out.
The truth
Yeah,
does come out.
always.
It just
Sooner or later, but
sometimes
always.
it's later, and sometimes that middle is tough.
Even in politics.
Yeah. There's another book, I haven't even read it yet. It's one that I bought that is on my to read list. It's called Hell in the Hallway.
Mm.
You start off and things are great, and you know that in the end it's going to be good. But dang, it can be hell in the hallway.
It's a clever name.
Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah.
And,
And
and also thinking about somebody who's really trying and you can't believe they're even acting that way. I think under certain circumstances, that could be anybody.
mm-hmm.
It takes the right circumstances can pull you
Exactly.
into that same person. Be that same person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, but for the grace of God. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's
We don't
why
know.
we don't want to judge.
Mhm.
We don't want to judge what's going on with somebody else because, like Carol said, they're but for the grace of God, go I.
Everybody says it, yeah.
Yeah. So we learn to ask, what is the truth about this situation? With a capital T. We learn to ask, and what is my real purpose in this situation?
And it could be to hold the high watch.
Yes.
Is that a word? I'm not
Yes.
saying that's a,
Hold the high watch.
yes, hold the high watch. I mean, you know, hold the high watch, just hold everything in light and love. And we don't necessarily have to become embroiled in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
To me, because I'm a former try-to-fixer person.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had been fixed, they would have been fixed already, hello.
Right.
I'm just saying, if they were fixable, I mean, in my control mind, you know.
Yes.
They still are fixable, they're just not ready.
Not by me though, not
Exactly.
Well,
by me.
yeah.
By holding the
Exactly.
high watch for the, you know, their highest good, yeah.
And we have to be able to be in the middle of these tough situations and look at someone who is not ready to fix themselves and allow and accept the fact that they're not ready.
And they don't even know they're not ready. They don't even know they need fixing, that's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Not my job.
No.
And it's, exactly, not my job.
Mm-mm.
And
Not my
sometimes,
monkeys.
we have to just walk away. Sometimes, we just have to say, I love and release this person, this situation, because it's in God's hands. It's not in my hands. It's not my job. Not my job, not my monkey, right?
Not my circus.
Because that could keep us from our purpose.
Yes.
When we're embroiled in all that. You know what I mean?
Correct. So, I picked one of the Awarepe things just to point out in case some of us haven't been using the Awarepe sessions. Then these are self-reflective things. Recall the events of the past few days. Make a list of situations and circumstances that challenged you. Can you see how it's possible these experiences were part of your purpose, bringing you opportunities to be the way, the truth, and the life of God? And these are things that, this is an exercise that we can all do on our own. This is in your Eye of the Storm books. At the end of chapter 8, it's the third one under Awarepe. But these are the kinds of opportunities we can give ourselves to take what we're learning deeper and use it on a very, very personal level. So the fourth attribute of wholeness, we know, is non-resistance. I mean, I chose this picture because a waterfall is such and water itself is such a good example. It's not trying to make a difference. It's not trying to erode a bank but water in its gentle, pure form is so powerful. I mean, we have, there's a creek, the Paint Creek, that flows through the condo community that we live in. And Mike was the board president at the time, and we had the creek in front of one of because there are condos that just sit right next to the creek. And the creek was flowing in such a way that every time it made this little bend, it kept wearing away the bank that it was flowing by. And so the land between the creek and the condo was shrinking. And one of the owners that had lived there for many, many years, because these condos were built in 1972, said, I don't know, but I'm getting worried because I've been watching this, and it used to be out here,
Right, now it's coming
And
in
now
further. Right.
it's here.
Right.
So that the creek has eaten away a lot of this land. They had to have an engineering company that specializes in this stuff come in and actually change the course of the river. so that it didn't flow that way. It changed the flow.
Same thing happened last year along 94. They almost had to close 94, but they had a company come in, and there's this little creek, and they dug it out. They put rocks in because it was sand. It was backfilled with sand up to 94. That could have taken the whole road.
Yeah.
In your case, it could have taken a building.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it
In
was
some houses, it's actually happened.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was
erosion.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. They brought in these massive stones bigger than this table that they put in a certain way
Make it go the other way.
to make
Wow.
the creek go a different way so that there would be no further land loss and because we would have lost the building.
Yeah.
Or put it underneath. There's a cool house in Harbor Springs where they just let it go right under the house, and they made, so
did they?
the creek just goes under that. It's kind of cool.
That's
Ooh.
very cool.
I see these pictures when they have these mudslides and stuff in California. Beautiful houses right on the ocean,
Right.
just tipping over.
Yeah, it's awful.
I know.
Going
And we've
in.
even had it here with the ice dams, where
Yeah.
they moved the ice dams, moved the houses, and took them over.
Well, then they had
Beach,
that sinkhole on 15 Mile.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Right? So nature is very powerful, and even in its gentle form, because that creek by us is just a nice little easy flowing creek, but over time. So the chapter title is Non-Resistance is Fertile. And I mean, the first time I just read this, it's like, resistance is futile, non-resistance is fertile. So I immediately went to the futile part. And I'm like, what does it say?
You must be a Star Trek fan.
No, not
No,
really.
because that's where I think of it. Resistance
Yeah.
is futile. The
Yeah.
Borg,
Oh, okay.
you will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Yeah, resistance is futile. But I've heard that phrase. Maybe I've heard it, but didn't know where it came
Well, that's
from.
where I've heard it from.
So we must be present to life because we are the avenue through which divine presence lives in this world. I mean, I'm excited about this part of the book because this gets into the real, what can we do about it? Not what the problem is, but what can we do about it? So, Kim, can you read that, please?
Sure. You want me to read the top two? Or?
Please.
Non-resistance and communion are overlapping attributes in the being present to life without conditions, means being connected to our experience, to whatever is happening in the moment, without pushing it away, without any ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah. How many times have you been speaking to someone about something that is happening and it's putting it from a personal perspective? When you do this or say this or treat me this way, it makes me feel like this. So I'm talking about why I would like you to choose to make a change. Because when you do that thing, whatever it is, I feel belittled, I feel disrespected, I feel whatever I feel. I'm just talking about how I feel.
Right. It's not.
When-
You're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
You did this to me. You're supposed to say
Exactly,
I.
exactly.
And let them know.
So we take ownership.
Right.
So, and then it is up to the other person not to say, yes, but if you weren't doing this, yes, but it's well, if that person wouldn't have, then I wouldn't have, or, and what this is saying is allowing what's going on, it is happening. No ifs, ands, or buts. If someone else comes to me and says, Anita, when you do this, it makes me feel like you're looking down on me or whatever. I need to take a look at that. I need to take a look at that. It's not because what if what I'm doing is having an effect on someone else that is not good, I want to know and I want to make a change. Because I'll tell you, one of the things that I continue to work on is judgment, is being judgmental. Because beating up on Anita was Anita's favorite pastime for many, many years.
And you don't want to project that on other people.
And I definitely was, not intentionally. And I still have to catch myself.
We all do, I think, at times.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're all human.
Right.
But, and being non-resistance, that letting go and saying, okay, I can't deal with this, I gotta let it go. Or
I'll
being-
come back to it even sometimes if you're like getting over an amount.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I can't deal with this right now. I'll just deal with it in an hour.
Yeah, there you go.
Or I'll deal with it tomorrow.
Yeah. When we're being present to life, even when we're being non-resistance, we want to stay connected to our feelings and intuition. We don't want to pretend that, oh, that doesn't bother me. Oh, they can say anything. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, how many times did I say that when I was a kid? Even when, oh, was I
No,
hurt?
it was good.
So
Like
we
my
pretend-
granddaughter even has said, you know, because of her speech problem, she has, you know, in
Mhm.
her hearing, that some kids make fun of her the way she talked, and she cried about it. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, feeling good. Like she was crying about herself.
Mhm.
Not that the kids did it, but that
Right.
she felt like she wasn't. You know.
Well, yeah, yeah. And that's,
And that's a kid, but we do it too.
oh yeah. And that same little girl is going to grow up to be a woman, and unless she deals with how she felt
Right.
and follows those feelings to learn from that she is whole and perfect just the way she is, but she can't. As a child, she's not ready to learn that, probably. I mean, we can tell her
Right.
that.
Right.
We can say the things to try to overcome what other people say to her.
Sure.
And she will grow and learn from that, and then she can choose. She can make a conscious choice, especially as she becomes an adult. So we want to stay connected to center, where we are relaxed and interested in creating a diverse, inclusive, accepting, welcoming, and safe space for everyone, not just for ourselves. I mean, and some of those stories in this booklet are just, I was practically in tears. What some of these people were willing to share. I mean, people that their families just said, "You're out of here." Their family, they were left, they were abandoned by their families. I mean, it's just, so when we are centered, when we are connected to that wholeness that we are, that's the space where we can see the wholeness in other people. A movement from center, when we do something from that center of wholeness, that is our authentic, that is authentic. Authentic action means doing the right thing.
We saw a movie, the book by Judy Blume.
Mm.
Oh, Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret. Yeah.
It's me,
The band book.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Yeah.
They did such a
Did they?
great job with that, showing the religion and what religion does
Yes.
to a family.
Yes.
It was so well done. You will find it'll be great for one of your
Oh,
future
yeah.
sermons to go see it, because they just really talked about the mother was disowned by her Christian family because she married a man who was Jewish, and the 12-year-old girl, Margaret, was allowed to just, be whatever and study religion and that, and they went through with her at that age, and she was going to these different churches and looking at all these different religions and seeing all the judgment that went on, and just being a teenager and the usual stuff. I just think they did an unbelievable job with it.
I was watching the Fox show yesterday morning.
The trailers.
The local show where I think it's critic Lee speaking, because it's Lee somebody, and both him and the other guy that reviews movies basically gave it thumbs up.
Did they?
Yeah, and apparently that book is banned in a lot of places.
Texas,
And-
Utah.
Yeah, so go see the movie,
Virginia.
right?
And that's going to make
Or
kids
go
go
get a
see
book
it
from
more.
some
Heck
other
yeah.
state.
Yeah.
I want that book, they'll be sliding it from one
Yeah.
kid to the next, and hiding it under their
This
bed.
book
or-
banning is
Yeah, and
just-
the girl that I heard an interview yesterday on All Things Considered with the girl that played Margaret. And apparently her mother read the book when she was a kid,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
it came out like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the author, Judy Bloom,
lives in Key
would
West and
not
she's in her
allow
80s. Yeah,
it be made into a movie. They've been wanting to make it into a movie for years. I was reading about it. And they've been wanting to make it into a movie for years, but she said no.
and apparently there's either an Amazon or a Netflix show about Judy.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's like a documentary that's been
Yeah.
done recently. She's 85 now.
Yeah.
I would just love to see that.
Yeah, I would think that would be good.
And it makes me want to read her books because,
Oh, yeah.
I was.
Some of those young,
Didn't have
those preteen type books are
Mhm.
really good. Really
to
good.
read now because you see it from a whole different angle because you've been there, you've done that.
What
Yeah.
was the other one that was made into another?
Judy Bloom.
No, was for preteens though. It was about the kid who was disfigured. What was the name of it? Not Mask.
Yeah, Mask was one of them.
Mask was one.
Mask was one, but this is a
A
different,
different
one.
one.
Yeah, I read that and I was just like, oh,
There's a lot of them that,
it
yeah.
was so good.
So there's
And then they
Cracker.
did a really good job with the
The
movie.
movie. Yeah.
I'll think of it later. I'll think of it after I'm long gone from
Yeah,
here.
or at 3 a.m.
Yeah, 3 a.m.
And don't call me.
Yeah,
Don't.
okay. Okay.
Or at 7
Be that
a.m.
way.
either.
So the 4 facets of being present. We must be conscious of our purpose. We must be conscious of the divine intention living through us. We must be connected to the experience, and we must be willing to be present with no resistance. So our purpose is to be the hands and feet of God. We don't really necessarily know what divine intention is. We just know it is for the highest good for everyone to feel safe. We want to stay connected to the experience. We don't want to pretend like this isn't happening. I'm not upset. We want to feel our feelings and be willing to be present without resisting. Don't put up any barriers. We want to be the way, not in the way. When you are non-resistant, you allow the infinite possibilities of divinity to flow through you into the situation. Let go and let God. I mean, depending on, and since this is a quote, he uses the word God a lot, and I've kind of substituted in some of
Thank
these
you.
quotes.
Thank you.
But that's what we allow, those infinite, and just off topic here a little bit, but quantum physics has proven that everything is possibility. Quantum physics, science has proven that there are all these possibilities, and depending on what path we choose to take, if we take the path of non-resistance, then we're going to get the best of the infinite possibilities that are available. So the aware-P that I chose from the end of chapter 9 is consider what it means to live life unconditionally, and then ask yourself, what beliefs or fears do I have that are obstacles to my living life unconditionally? And I think this is, to answer that for me, I would take this into meditation and kind of see what came to me. Because, as I said, there are things that I'm still learning about myself, because there are things that we have buried so deep that we don't necessarily want to know, but we need to know. And chapter 10 is called The Power Center. The power of being centered. There is no true path without center. With center, mind, body, and spirit merge. Passion and commitment unleash a force that cannot be contained. And this is how I end up with so many books. This is a quote from a gentleman by the name of Thomas Crum, who was back in the, I don't know if it was the early 1900s or late 1800s, but he was a prolific writer. The good news about some of these older writings is if you're not familiar with archive.org, you can't always download the book, but you can always read it. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of really, really excellent material on archive.org. The key to embracing conflict is finding center.
What was that last one though? Passion and commitment unleash a force that cannot
Be contained.
Being centered is a mind-body experience that occurs when our attention and awareness, there's that word again, Darrell. Boy, you were ahead of the game here. It's that our attention and awareness form a bridge between the experience that we're in and the center that we are, the I that we are, the God part of us, who we truly are. Center is that point in space around which the activity of matter and energy are in perfect equilibrium. Everyone and everything has a center.
Well, now there go our excuses.
Linda, you want to read that? Is that readable?
A center is both a place and a potentiality out of which harmony and balance occur. There is a place within every relationship where the forces of personality and soul interact to create spiritual growth and transformation. And that's from Gary Simmons, the
Yeah.
eye of the storm.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful statement. There's a place in every relationship where the forces of our personality and the forces of our soul work together, interact to create spiritual growth and transformation. And typically, those are going to be times when it isn't necessarily something that you would prefer to be doing. A lot of times when we really need to, that connection between our personality and soul. That's our ego and our higher self, is when we're going through a challenge, which is truly an opportunity.
Sometimes you don't see the opportunity until it's over, I hope.
Yeah.
Some days.
And there's some centering exercises. I don't know if we have time to do these, but there's some centering exercises on pages 41 to 141 to 143. If you want to if we can at least take a look at them together and see the practice of centering. It starts at the bottom of page 141. Okay, let's try this. Stand. Everyone stand with your feet and toes pointed straight ahead. Place your feet a shoulder's width apart. Relax your knees and let your knees slightly bend. Keep your weight centered between both feet. Place your left hand at your navel and move your hand down 3 fingers length, and then press your fingertips gently at this point. Place your right hand on top. Imagine a place inside your abdomen, a single point, like a spot. This is your center. Now see if you can bring all of your attention to this point and breathe from center.
That's where I meditate.
You know intellectually that your diaphragm is doing the breathing, but imagine that you are drawing in the air through a hole in your stomach just below your navel. A hole that leads directly to your center. Imagine and feel what it is like to experience the breath from center. It naturally allows the body to relax because the breath itself is arising from center. And then there's another exercise that we could do too. It's a partner exercise, and it's really interesting. Let me read it to you, and then if you want to do it, we can try it. You would stand side by side, shoulder to shoulder, facing the same direction. Partner B, whatever, using his or her arm closest to you, will place the palm of his or her hand, fingers pointing downward, at the center of your chest, just below your throat. Partner A stands with feet shoulder distance apart, and allows partner B to slowly and gently increase pressure, just enough to force you to wobble. What happens immediately? You push back, don't you? Your body instinctively resists the pressure because of the threat of falling backwards. Now let's do it again without resisting this time, without pushing back. Let yourself be tested again. With your instincts disconnected, it shouldn't take much pressure at all to get you to wobble. Most of us wobble at the slightest pressure. Partner B makes a mental note as to how much pressure it took to get A to wobble. Now reposition yourself with partner B's hand gently resting on your chest. Partner B, don't push just yet. Partner A, become aware of your center. That point down here in your abdomen. Bring your attention to your center, and at the same time, bring the sensation of partner B's hand to your center. The sensation, what you feel here, feel it down here. Bring your attention to your center, and at the same time bring the sensation of your partner's hand to your center, so that when he or she pushes again, it will be as if he or she is pushing against your center, using your imagination. Partner B then slowly begin to apply pressure to partner A. Partner A, don't resist the pressure, experience it from your center. Now partner B, take special care to note how much of an increase in pressure is necessary to move partner A to a wobble or to shift to resistance. It's likely partner A's centered state will require 3, 4, or perhaps 10 times as much pressure to move him or her.
He's saying chest, but it's really up, you know.
Well, he said below your throat.
Yeah, but he says chest, so
Yeah.
that makes people uncomfortable.
I know, that's why I
So don't
was,
say chest.
that's,
What
well-
I'm saying, it's just, yeah, you know, but.
yeah, it's
and
this
you
spot
do it
right
on
here.
yourself, you know, you find yourself
Yeah.
pushing back.
But
until you
when,
concentrate.
if you're just
Hey, thank you.
feeling the pressure here, it's real easy to
No, you gotta
push.
do the pressure.
But if you're
Yeah. no,
if
I
you're
think I like
concentrating, down
Your
here
center.
and you push, if you concentrate on your center, then when you push, it's you can do it to yourself actually.
Right.
You can, but you can really feel it.
Okay, you do.
You can feel it.
Yeah, I just thought that was,
Okay, that's the wobble.
and
Okay.
I just thought that was a really
Good
good
example.
example
Right.
of how this focusing on our center and breathing from our center. Because I had never heard that before.
Yeah.
It was something new to me, and I thought that was
You can
really
do it.
good.
Try it on him. You want me to try it on you?
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll try. Okay. Okay, now do your center. Oh yeah, see what I could.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it is.
By concentrating, then you
Yeah,
get people.
isn't that pretty incredible? I thought it was really cool. So resistance is pushing life away, and non-resistance is taking life in.
That just goes to show you how strong your diaphragm is, though.
It
And
also
your whole-
shows you how strong your mind is.
Right.
Yeah, because you're concentrating.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Going to center.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing.
Because your diaphragm is what makes you breathe, too.
Right. Right?
You know, the breath of God, you know.
Mm-hmm. So non-resistance is also knowing when to move and how to move appropriately. When we receive enough pressure, our center will move us. So even though when we were focusing on our center, it was more difficult to be moved, if we're receiving enough pressure, our center is going to allow us to naturally move. So our center knows
How much
when
you can
and
do,
how to move. And it's it's up to us to learn to trust. To trust in that presence and
One
power.
day, long time ago, my mom, she was asking me to go get her cigarettes. And she asked me probably about 30 times.
Uh-huh.
And do you know, like, just listening to this, she really moved my spirit out before I went and got it. Because in my mind, I was like, I'm going to go get your cigarettes. Like, she was really bugging me. I said, I'm going to go get them. Before I got to the store, the guy said, you already came here. And this made me remind because of, like, the word. And I've been working with the word move lately. You know, we got to learn how to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so deep because of, like, sometimes, like, I feel, and anyone else feel that something pulling you, and you just have that doubt, like, what is it? And we study this all the time. We just got to learn to trust it now.
Did she write you a note for it?
Mhm.
My dad used to write me notes to take into the store to buy him cigars.
Right.
Really?
Because you weren't of age yet, right?
That guy said, I remember to this day, he said, you already came here. I was like, hey, did I play a lottery number? I already knew. I was like, if I got here ahead of time spiritually, tell me something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always thinking like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought this was fun. Under stress, we access our center by exploring our underlying beliefs. We ask ourselves, what am I making this mean? What belief do I have about myself that supports this feeling that I'm having about this person or situation? What inner resources am I missing in order so that I don't have to feel so uneasy in this situation or a situation like this that might arise in the future? I mean, this is all about self-exploration. What part of me wants to push this away or make the other person wrong? And how is it possible for this to feel like it's a threat to me? How is that possible? I mean, because I don't care where we are in our spiritual growth. There's still going to be times when we feel like, I don't know that I can handle this. But that's when we ask ourselves, what resource am I missing? Because there's something, because otherwise we'd be okay. And we know we are okay. So exploring underlying beliefs is just a real fun thing to do.
Well, yeah, and there's what affects one person doesn't affect another, and you got to realize what do they have, or what, you know, the differences. Why does that not affect you, and it affects me, or vice versa, you know?
Right.
Or why are you so upset about a situation that doesn't seem to bother me at all?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I don't see it, but
Yeah.
but that's when we have to get back to the heart-to-heart communication.
Yeah.
So what's going on? You know, there's something going on.
I read his book, Be Here Now.
Yeah. Ram Dass. Yeah. What do I need in order to be in this situation without needing it to be changed? You know, this whole thing when I started doing the work to put these slides together. I mean, reading a book is one thing, but when you're really looking at all the little individual pieces and how the author put it together and how it all works together, it helps me. It helps me more. And when we start asking ourselves, what do I need? And then we start discovering what it is that we need, then we can give it to ourselves. Because too many times, and I didn't even know what I needed. And if you don't know what you need, how are you going to help yourself? So we have to do this self-exploration in order to get to the heart of where the issues lie, which is always inside. Bring the situation to center and live it from center. What does my center want me to do in this situation? What is my authentic action? What is my action? Knowing who I truly am. Knowing that I'm an individualized expression of God. What is the authentic action I should take in this situation? What does divine presence want to do through me in this situation? What is my purpose, given that this is before me? I'm experiencing this, so there's got to be, there's a reason, and it is for my highest good. What is my purpose here? What am I to find? What am I to discover? What is the right thing to do? And what is the truth about this situation? Darrell, you want to read that, please?
We are not our fears and insecurities. We are individualized expressions of the one present in power, all that is.
And that's why I love that one line from our statement of being, I'm an individualized expression of God. I mean, I use that all the time to remind myself And this is the awareness question that I've chosen from chapter 10. Think of a challenge you're facing. What does it look like to move from the center called principle or divine spirit in regard to this situation? These are things that we want to spend some time with, and I know, Kim, that you were able to do a lot of them last time. I don't know if you've been able to this time. But chapter 11, final chapter, a call to make peace. The purpose of our center is not to make the storm go away. Taking life to our center is to get what we need to become fully present to the storm. So that's why we learn to ask ourselves these questions and ask ourselves, what do I need? What am I missing? So that I can be fully present to this situation and not have the need to run away from it, like my normal old reaction used to be. Just don't deal with it, just get away from it. Doesn't work. Fully present, we are the eye of the storm and bring those attributes of wholeness to the experience of the storm. And those attributes of wholeness are communion, which overcomes separation, principle, which overcomes misperception, purpose, which overcomes competition, non-resistance, which overcomes defense. So I like the fact that we've only got 4 things that we have to remember. It's not like a whole list a mile long. And Matthew 5, verse 9 says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." And according to Reverend Simmons, peacemaking is a path to divine presence. It is coming to terms with our fears and insecurities in the awareness that we are so much more. A process of transcendence where we discover our own innate wholeness and worth. And that getting to the point, in fact, this morning, I said something that I wasn't talking about the class, I was just talking about, I was talking about a pair of shoes that I want to get, that are attractive sandals. They're attractive and they're good for your feet and for your posture and all this stuff. And then I said, because I'm a penny pincher, I'm terrible, especially when it comes to myself. I'll do for other people what I won't do for myself sometimes as far as spending money. So I'm looking at these shoes and I'm showing them to Mike and I said, oh, but you got to look at the video on how they're good for your back and your feet and your legs and your knees, because I'm getting knee surgery at the end of June.
Oh, Dave might need to get surgery.
Oh, I got to give you my guy's name.
He goes through the VA, but
Oh, okay.
you
Yeah,
gotta have
the
knee
VA.
surgery too in June?
Yeah, end of June. So anyway, I'm showing Mike these shoes, and I said, but you got to look at the video so that you know why I want to spend that much money on shoes. And then I said, spontaneously, I'm worth it. And I went, well, that felt good, because I don't say that about myself too often. And I'm getting to the point where I think I deserve it. I think I'm good enough. I think I'm worth it. And that, when you have that spot of unworthiness in you, and then you start discovering it and overcoming it, it's really something.
Release, huh?
Yeah. A peacemaker, and I don't know if you can, you're right. On this screen, it looks totally different on this screen than it does on this screen. A peacemaker is dynamic neutrality in the face of competing tensions or mutually exclusive positions, holding the space for the possibility of reconciliation in that field of infinite possibilities. She stands in the center of confusion, upset, and conflict without making others wrong in their positions. That's what we want to do.
That can be so hard.
You're right. It is not easy.
Especially when they're wrong, right?
Well, when it's your boss too, even your boss, there's been times when, even at work, somebody said something to me. Just recently my home care lady was bleeding. I got on the carpet and she said, "Oh, use warm water." And I was like, warm water is just going to set it.
Right.
So I didn't listen to her. I used cold water, but she kept saying, you are using warm water, aren't you? And I was like, I finally just said, "Oh yeah, sure I am."
Yeah.
Peroxide helps too.
Yeah, peroxide. That's what I looked up, and then she said, "Oh no, do it
No.
this way."
Yeah.
And I was like, "But it's
Cut the end off the ham.
Up the ham.
Yeah, because it's in the roaster that Grandma had.
Yeah, the roast.
I love that old saying. Yeah,
I know,
it's
that's great.
so true. Good John was a gentleman at another Unity center that I went to, and he would always not argue with people. Just possibly, perhaps, he, instead of like, no, you want to use cold water, and I would go to that, blood is protein, it's going to coagulate, it's like sputum, you don't want to use warm water, you want to use cold, use ice or whatever.
Yeah. A peacemaker invites disputants into their center, into their eye of the storm. From their purpose and oneness of presence, they can discover whatever's missing in the relationship. We are each called to be a peacemaker, and the entire universe supports us in making peace wherever we are and in every storm that comes upon us. So not only is this, so the eye of the storm, this final chapter is telling us, not only do we want to be the eye of the storm so that we can live in peace and live and have peaceful relationships and good relationships. We want to help other people. We want to be a peacemaker. And that brings me to this. If you're interested, these are available on, did I put the website on here? I forgot to. I meant to.
It's in the back of your book.
Isn't it artofquantumliving.com?
Yes, it is.
It's on the top,
Where?
the very top.
Oh, I did put it on here. Thank you, Mike.
I see URLs. So
Yes. The artofquantumliving.com. That's where you can get these. Now, what these are, it's a 21-day spiritual practice for use with the eye of the storm. But you don't, and now that you've read the book, you don't have to reread the book. What this does is it has three situations per day. And then there's these little sayings in the center of the book. It's a pretty cool book. No judgment is about me, all judgments are for me, nothing and no one is against me. Day one. And this pattern is repeated throughout the book. Describe the situation revealed to you by your heart. What did or didn't you say or do that may have caused some hurt and separation? So this is about taking personal responsibility too. Ask your heart. This is the second question. And then there's a area to respond. I probably should have put a page up on there, but I didn't. Ask your heart how you could have responded differently to those involved and what difference you have made, what difference would you have made had you related from your heart? Third question, what inner resource was missing that helped create this situation? Who were you being? Insecure, unworthy, not good enough, etc., instead of who you truly are? And what will you do tomorrow to reconcile with the person or people in this situation? Complete the sentence. If given the gift of tomorrow, I promise my heart that I will. And there's 3 per day of those same questions that you can ask yourself. And then there's also a page to reflect on today's reconciliation experience. What have you discovered or learned about yourself and life so far? So he talks about how he ended up putting this reconciliation book together is he did this. He did this, and I don't know if I made a slide of this or not. He did this, and what he found, I don't know if I marked it or not. What he found is, as he did this day-by-day reconciliation, here it is, a remarkable byproduct of the experience was seeing and experiencing a correlation between intentions in consciousness and those intentions in my outer world. He talked about once he started doing this practice in this book, in going back to the people that he felt that he hadn't really handled the situation very well, and he could have done better, and going back to these people and saying, when this happened yesterday, I felt like I could have done better, and I'd like to rectify this with you. And he said he found that at first, when he first started doing it, the people were very open to saying, oh, it's cool, everything's fine. As time went on, as he kept doing this process for himself, looking at what was going on in his own heart and mind, he found that rather than getting a response of, oh, it's okay, they're like, what? I don't remember you doing anything that bothered me.
Isn't that even in an alcoholics thing to make amends with?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's one
So
of the
isn't
12
that
steps.
kind of like probably that concept
Yeah.
too? is
Buddhism.
to
Yeah.
try to figure out maybe something
Yep.
that you might have said or
Mhm.
done to somebody that might have hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
He
So
went to his ex-wives.
what he realized, and over time, was the list of the people he had to contact got smaller and smaller. What he also realized is the hurts that he thought he had caused, the other people were like, what? You didn't do anything. Everything's cool. And so he got to the point where he realized that just his intention to go into a situation, whatever it was, being non-resistant, being open, being the hands and feet of that divine presence in the situation, that intention was manifesting itself without any effort. So I bought this and I thought, I'll probably never do that. However, having read about his experience and how it really worked, because there's another book, happens to be by Wayne Dyer, called The Power of Intention, and that's one of my favorite Wayne Dyer books. I'm with you, Kim. So that really piqued my interest. So the Awarapy from chapter 11 is, tonight, before going to bed, review the events of the day and what unfinished business awaits you tomorrow. Were you too quick to judge, too busy to really be present enough? List of people you need to talk to or letters you need to write. Make a promise to the divine presence that if given the gift of tomorrow, you will make peacemaking your life's work. So I would recommend, and back to my cheapskate self, I mean, if you don't want to buy the book, you can just write the questions down and do it for yourself on a daily basis.
Yeah, I journal, and
Right.
like I even gave Dave a journal, and
Right.
I've given other people journals,
Right.
because I just think that that's something good to do.
I do too. I've been journaling for years.
And that's part of journaling.
It
Really,
is.
it's just adding a little extra
It
to
is,
it.
and it's putting some specific
Right, things that you
things
need to do
in
that
place.
day.
that you can do. So that's it, folks. That's the whole book. That's the whole seminar. And I'm really, really appreciative of you being here. I'm really appreciative of all the input that you have given to this. I think it's made the class even better. In addition to just another, if you haven't read this, Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. It coordinates with this. This is also one of the books on my list for the spiritual book club that I've been talking about.
Oh, you know what's another one that's really not a spiritual book, but this book just did something to me when I read it. It's Dale Carnegie's
How to Win Friends,
Win
Friends and
Influence
Influence
People.
People. Mhm.
Yeah,
That was like one of my favorite
Yeah.
ones that led me
yeah,
to more spiritual books.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I haven't read this one. I just got it yesterday. It's called The Places That Scare You, A Guide to Fearlessness in Difficult Times. Pema Chodron,
Oh,
Carol
that's
refers
his
to
daughter,
a lot.
right? That's the daughter of Deepak?
No, it's not Chopra, it's Chodron.
Oh, okay.
And I have the Storm for Teens, which it's got some really good stories in it. And this is a book by that Thomas Crum that I quoted. It's called The Magic of Conflict, Turning a Life of Work into a Work of Art. And this book uses a lot of martial arts, referring to martial arts and how it connects with learning to overcome conflict. So let's do a final prayer. Oops. So just relax. Take a couple deep breaths. Breathe from that center that you have discovered, that solid place where you are not moved by the winds of conflict, where you are centered in that presence and power that lives through you and as you in all situations and circumstances. And we are so grateful for what we've learned. We're so grateful to be able to take this information and not just think about it, but to feel how valuable it is to us in our daily life's interactions. We're so grateful that we can go into a challenging situation, a situation that maybe in the past we would have run from or put up our barriers and fought our way through. Instead, we have learned that we can remain centered, we can remain the eye of the storm, and regardless of what's happening around us, we can allow that power and presence to work through us. We are so thankful for this time together and thankful for each person that attended, and we say amen. And we certainly do appreciate your love offerings and donations. So, and the donations for this class, half goes to getting the TV for the sanctuary that I've been wanting, and the other half goes to the roof fund.